How long can you search for something invisible? That's the question I carry this morning. Not in words. Words come later, when the fire is lit and the body is still. Right now, it's just a pressure behind my ribs, a knowing. We need water. Not tomorrow. Not in 2 days. Now. The goatskin bag hangs from my shoulder, and I can feel its weight without looking. Light. Too light. I squeezed it an hour ago, and felt the last of it shift, like something dying. Maybe a day's worth if we're careful. Half a day if the sun does what the sun has been doing. Soraya walks ahead of me. She hasn't said anything about the water. She doesn't need to. I saw her check the bag this morning when she thought I was still asleep. Saw her fingers press into the leather, measuring, calculating. Her face didn't change, but her hands moved faster after that. Packing, rolling the blankets tight, tying the straps with that particular sharpness that means she's already planning 3 steps ahead. I should be leading. I'm the one who knows this land. At least I'm the one who was taught to know it. My grandfather stood on ground like this. 70 years ago, maybe more. I was small enough that his hand covered my entire shoulder when he gripped it. He pointed at the earth with his other hand. Not at anything I could see, just earth. Dry. Cracked. The same dead brown that stretches in every direction now. Watch the cracks, he said. Or maybe he said, read the cracks. Memory reshapes words, but the meaning held. The earth speaks through its fractures. Where it splits deep, the moisture fled long ago. Where the cracks are shallow, thin, like the lines on an old woman's face, something lingers beneath. I'm watching the cracks now. We've been walking since before dawn. The horizon is a flat line drawn with a dull knife, and the heat hasn't reached its worst yet, but it's climbing. I can feel it in my ears, in the skin behind my knees, the kind of warmth that doesn't announce itself. It just accumulates until you realize you've been cooked slowly, like something left in embers too long. Soraya stops. I almost walk into her. She's looking at the ground. No. She's looking at a plant. A scrub of something brittle and gray, barely alive, bent sideways by winds that blew weeks ago. To anyone else, it's nothing. Debris. The desert is full of things that look dead. But Soraya crouches down and touches the base of the stem, right where it enters the soil. Her fingers press into the dirt. She holds them there, eyes closed, and I know what she's doing. She's feeling for cool. For the faintest difference in temperature between the surface and whatever lies beneath the roots. I learned water from my grandfather. Soraya learned plants from hers. Different languages for the same conversation. She stands, brushes her fingers on her dress, and tilts her head slightly to the east. That's all. A tilt. 30 years of marriage compressed into a gesture smaller than a breath. I follow. My father was not patient like my grandfather. He taught me water through failure. Dig, he'd say, pointing at random ground. I'd dig. Hands first, then a flat stone if I could find one. I'd dig until my fingers bled and hit nothing but more dry earth, and he'd stand over me and say, wrong. Again. I hated him for it then. Now I understand. He wasn't teaching me where water is. He was teaching me where it isn't. And that knowledge, the knowledge of absence, is worth more than any map. The terrain shifts beneath my sandals. We've been angling east for maybe an hour, following Soraya's instinct. And the ground here is different. Harder in some places. The color has changed. Not dramatically, not the way you'd notice from a distance, but up close there's a slight darkening, like tea stained into cloth. Old moisture. Ghost of water that passed through here in another season, another year. I kneel and press my palm flat against the surface. Count to 10. Feel nothing. Count to 20. Nothing. Count to 30, and there it is. Not coolness exactly, but the absence of heat. The ground isn't reflecting the sun's warmth back at me the way it does everywhere else. It's absorbing it, pulling it down, which means there's density below, which means there's something the heat is sinking into. Maybe. My grandfather would have known in 5 seconds. I need 30. My father would have said that's 25 seconds of wasted life. Soraya is already ahead, walking a slow circle around the area. She moves like she's listening with her feet. Every few steps she pauses, shifts her weight, continues. I've seen her do this before. She's mapping the underground with her body, feeling where the ground gives slightly, where it holds, where the density changes underfoot. She finds something. I can tell because she stops and doesn't move for a long time. Just stands with her weight on one foot, the other pressing down slowly, testing. Then she crouches again. This time, she doesn't touch the soil. She's looking at insects, tiny black things moving in a line near a crack in the earth. Ants, going somewhere with purpose. In the desert, ants with purpose means moisture. They're building, which means they're finding wet soil to work with, which means... Soraya looks at me and nods. This is the spot. Or close to it. Close enough to begin. I've carried a flat stone in my pack for 3 days. Not because I knew I'd need it today, but because you always carry a digging stone. My grandfather taught me that too. The desert is full of stones, he said, but never the right one when you need it. So you keep the right one close. I clear the surface, brush away the loose sand and gravel with my hands, exposing the harder ground beneath. The cracks here are shallow, thin, delicate, like I said, like the lines on an old face. Good. That's what I need. The first strike of stone against earth sends a shock up my wrist. The ground is hard, baked by years of sun with no rain to soften it. This top layer is the desert's armor, and breaking through it is the first test. Most people give up here. They hit the crust, feel the resistance, and assume there's nothing below. But the crust is the point. The harder the surface, the better it's been at trapping what's underneath. My father's voice again. The desert doesn't hide water. It protects it. I thought that was poetry when I was young. Now I know it's engineering. I chip away at the surface, working in a circle about the width of my shoulders. Soraya kneels beside me and begins clearing the loose debris I'm creating, scooping it away with both hands, building a small pile to the side. We fall into the rhythm without discussion. I break. She clears. I break. She clears. 20 minutes. Maybe more. The sun is fully committed now, pressing down on the back of my neck with something close to malice. Sweat runs into my eyes, and I wipe it with my forearm, tasting salt. My hands are already raw. The stone vibrates with each strike, and I can feel the shock traveling up my arms, settling in my shoulders. The hole is maybe 30 centimeters deep. The earth here is still dry, but the color is changing. Darker, more consistent. The random streaks of lighter sand are gone, replaced by a uniform brown that tells me the moisture, when it came, saturated this layer evenly. Soraya reaches into the hole and scoops out a handful of soil. She brings it to her nose, closes her eyes, smells it. This is something I can't do. I've never had her sensitivity to scent. She can distinguish between soil that was wet a year ago and soil that was wet a month ago. Something about the minerals, the organic matter, the way decay smells different depending on how recently water fed it. Her grandmother taught her, and her grandmother learned from women whose names nobody remembers anymore. She opens her eyes. There's something in her expression. Not excitement, not yet. Possibility. She sets the soil down carefully, like it's evidence, and gestures for me to keep going. Deeper. My grandfather found water once in a place everyone said was dead. A valley east of here. At least I think it was east. Memory warps distance and direction. Where the last rain had fallen maybe 5 years before. Everyone had moved on. The herds had moved on. The valley was a graveyard of dry riverbeds and cracked earth and the bleached bones of animals that didn't leave in time. He walked for half a day. Stopped at a spot that looked exactly like every other spot. Dug for 3 hours with nothing but his hands and a piece of bone. And at arm's depth, the soil turned to mud. I asked him how he knew. He said, "I didn't. I listened." I still don't know exactly what he meant. But I'm listening now, in whatever way I can. Listening with my hands as they feel the earth change. Listening with my skin as the temperature shifts deeper in the hole. Listening with something older than thought. Some animal part of me that remembers what water feels like even before it appears. 40 centimeters. The earth is definitely changing. Not wet. I wouldn't call it wet. But there's a resistance to it now that wasn't there before. It doesn't crumble the same way. When I pry a chunk loose, it holds its shape for a moment before breaking apart. Clay content. Clay means water passed through here and left something behind. Left a record. My arms burn. My back protests every time I lean forward. The stone I'm using has developed a crack along one edge, and I know it won't last much longer. I need to make every strike count. Soraya gets up and walks away. I don't watch her go. I trust her movements the way I trust my own breathing. She'll be back with something useful. She always is. I keep digging. 50 centimeters now. The color is dark brown, shading towards something almost black in places. I press my thumb into the wall of the hole and feel it give slightly. Softness. Not much, but compared to the iron crust above, this is silk. I remember a story my grandfather told me about a man who dug for water for 7 days. 7 days of digging in the same spot, going deeper and deeper, breaking through layers of rock and clay and compressed sand. On the 7th day, his family begged him to stop. They said the earth had nothing to give. He dug 1 more hour and hit a spring that fed their camp for 11 years. I don't know if that story is true. I don't think it matters. The point isn't the spring. The point is the hour after everyone said stop. Soraya returns. She's carrying something. A piece of dry root, thick as my wrist, hard as stone. She kneels at the edge of the hole and begins working the root into the soil at an angle, using it as a lever to pry out larger sections of compacted earth. It's faster than my stone. Smarter. She saw the problem, my tool was failing, and solved it before I asked. Her hands work the root with a precision that makes my efforts look clumsy. She finds the natural fault lines in the compacted clay, inserts the tip of the root, twists, and whole sections break free. In 10 minutes, she's doubled the depth of one side of the hole. I sit back and catch my breath. Watch her work. There's a rhythm to it that reminds me of music, not the kind with melody, but the kind with momentum. Strike, twist, pull, strike, twist, pull.
Keep going.
Her headscarf has slipped back, and the grey streaks in her hair catch the sunlight. Her face is focused, complete. She's not thinking about water right now. She's in the work itself, lost in the conversation between her hands and the earth. My grandfather said something about women and water that I only half remember. Something about how women find what men walk past. Because women know what thirst feels like in the body of another person, in their children, in their family. Men feel their own thirst. Women feel everyone's. I don't know if that's true either. But watching Soraya dig, I believe it. 60 centimeters, maybe 65. The sides of the hole are layered like a history book. Pale and dead at the top, darkening through shades of brown and rust. And now, at the bottom, something that looks almost alive. The soil here clumps. When Soraya pulls out a handful and squeezes it, it doesn't fall apart. It compresses, holds the shape of her fist. She looks at me, opens her hand, shows me the dark mass of earth with the imprint of her fingers pressed into it. Moisture, not water yet, not flowing, not pooling, but moisture. The memory of rain held in clay and darkness for years, kept safe by the crust above, preserved by the pressure of the earth around it. I feel something unlock in my chest. Not relief. It's too early for relief. But the shift from maybe to probably, from searching to finding. We dig together now. Side by side, shoulder to shoulder, our hands working different sections of the whole. Soraya takes the deeper end with her root lever. I work the edges wider with what's left of my stone, making room for both of us to reach down. The soil comes faster here, softer, darker, each handful heavier than the last. There's a smell now. I can catch it in waves, something mineral, something old, like stone after rain, except there's been no rain. This smell is coming from below, from water that's been sitting in darkness so long it's become part of the earth itself. 70 centimeters. My arms are in the hole up to my elbows. The bottom is dark, almost black, and when I press my fingers into it, I feel cold. Not cool, cold. The kind of cold that doesn't belong here, in this furnace of a landscape, under this sun that's been beating the earth senseless for years. Cold that can only mean one thing. I pull my hand out and look at my fingers. They're dark with soil, and they're wet, not dripping, not coated, but there's a sheen on my skin that catches the light, a dampness that I can feel when I rub my thumb against my fingertips. Soraya sees it too. She reaches down, both hands, and begins scooping the dark soil out faster. Not frantic, she's too controlled for that, but with an urgency that wasn't there before. The root lever is forgotten. She's using her bare hands now, pulling the heavy earth out in fistfuls, and each one leaves a darker stain on her dress where it brushes against her. I join her. We're both reaching down, our heads almost touching, and the whole gives up its secret in layers. Dark soil, darker soil, soil that sticks to my skin, soil that glistens, and then a sound. Not loud, not dramatic. A small sound, like someone sighing in another room. The earth exhales, and at the bottom of the hole, a dark spot appears, grows, spreads slowly outward, like a bruise in reverse. Water. It seeps rather than flows. It emerges rather than bursts. It has no hurry. It's been waiting here for years, patient, quiet, compressed beneath layers of clay and time. And now that we've opened a path, it rises on its own schedule, slowly, generously, dark and mineral-rich and cold. I sit back on my heels and watch it. Soraya stays close, her hands resting on the edge of the hole, her eyes fixed on the slowly expanding pool. It's barely a pool yet, more of a stain that's becoming a puddle that might become something more if we give it time. My grandfather found water like this, in that dead valley, in that place everyone had abandoned. He sat by the hole and waited, and the earth gave what it had. Not all at once, not in a rush, in its own time. Time. That's the part people don't understand about desert water. It's not like a river that's always moving, always visible, always there when you need it. Desert water is stored time, rain that fell years ago captured in clay, compressed by the weight of the earth above it, held in darkness until someone comes asking. Every drop in this hole is a message from a storm I never saw, rain that fell when I was somewhere else, living some other day. And now it's here, in my hands, because my grandfather taught me to listen, and Soraya's grandmother taught her to smell the soil, and together we carried those teachings across decades to this exact moment, this exact spot. I don't rush to drink. That's another lesson I had to learn through failure. My father, impatient, always impatient, he taught me that the first water from a new dig is heavy with minerals. Bitter sometimes. Hard on the stomach if you take too much too fast. You wait. Let it settle. Let the initial surge bring up whatever the earth has been holding, and then the water clarifies. Becomes something you can trust. Soraya knows this already. She's pulled a piece of cloth from her pack, thin cotton, the kind she usually uses for straining herbs, and she's folding it into a square. A filter. She'll let the first water settle, then pour it through the cloth to catch the silt and grit. She did this the last time we found water in dry ground months ago, and the result was cleaner than anything I could have managed. I watch the pool grow. It's the size of my palm now, dark, still, reflecting a small circle of sky. There's a patience required here that goes against every instinct. My body wants to cup its hands and drink. My throat wants to feel that cold weight sliding down. My cells are screaming for it. I can feel the need in my teeth, my gums, the dry hinge of my jaw. But I wait. Because the desert teaches you that the thing you need most is the thing you must approach most carefully. Soraya leans forward and dips one finger into the water. Just the tip. She brings it to her lips, not to drink, to test. Her tongue touches her fingertip and she closes her eyes, processing. I know what she's checking. Mineral content, salt, anything that would make this water dangerous rather than saving. She opens her eyes. The smallest nod. We wait another 20 minutes. The pool deepens, expands. It's the size of both my hands now, and the water has shifted from black to dark brown as the initial sediment settles. I can see my reflection in it, distorted, fragmented, but it's there. A face in the earth. My grandfather's face in the earth, if I let memory blur the lines. Soraya sets up her filtration. She stretches the cloth over the mouth of the goatskin bag, securing it with a strip of leather. Then she takes the old tin cup from my pack, dented, blackened by fire, and begins the slow work of scooping water from the hole and pouring it through the cloth. The first cup takes a long time to filter. The water is thick, heavy with dissolved clay and minerals. It passes through the cloth slowly, leaving behind a paste of silt that Soraya scrapes away before pouring the next cup. I start widening the hole while she works, gently now, not digging for depth, but for access, creating a wider basin for the water to collect. The soil at this depth is saturated. Everything I touch is wet. My hands are stained dark, and the smell of mineral earth fills my nose with each breath. The goatskin bag slowly fills, cup by cup. Soraya works without rest, her movements precise and unhurried. Scoop, pour, wait, scrape, repeat. She's counting something. I can see her lips moving slightly, keeping track of how many cups, how much volume, calculating how far this water will carry us. I remember being small enough to ride on my grandfather's shoulders and watching him work a waterhole like this one. He hummed while he worked, low, tuneless, more vibration than melody. I asked him why, and he said, "The earth likes music." I laughed then. I don't laugh now. I understand that the humming was for him. A way to stay calm, to stay patient, to keep the rhythm of the work steady when every part of him wanted to rush. I catch myself humming, something without shape, just sound and breath and the movement of my hands in wet earth. The bag is a quarter full. Soraya pauses to rest her arms. I take over the scooping, and she sits back, stretching her fingers, rolling her wrists. Her hands are stained darker than mine. Her silver bracelet has picked up a coating of clay. The sun has moved. We've been at this for hours. The shadow of my body falls across the hole now, and I work in my own shade, grateful for the small mercy. My knees ache from kneeling. My back has locked into a complaint that I know won't ease until I lie flat tonight. But the bag is filling, and the water keeps coming, and each cup feels like something returned to us that we'd been missing. There's a moment. I can't place exactly when, somewhere between the 30th cup and the 40th, when the water changes. Clears. The thick brown gives way to something lighter, almost amber, and when Soraya filters it through the cloth, it passes faster. Cleaner. The silt paste on the cloth thins to almost nothing. She dips her finger again. Tastes.
Good work.
The nod is bigger this time. She fills the cup and holds it out to me. I drink, cold, clean, a slight mineral edge like licking a stone after rain, but sweet beneath that. Sweet in the way that only water pulled from deep earth can be. Not sugar sweet, but the sweetness of something essential. Something my body recognizes at a level below thought. I drink the whole cup. Feel it hit my stomach like a cold stone dropped into a warm pond. Feel it spread outward through my chest, my limbs, my fingertips. My lips crack as they stretch into something I haven't worn in days. Soraya fills another cup and drinks. Slowly, like she's reading each mouthful. Her eyes close. Her throat moves. When she finishes, she sets the cup down and presses both hands against the earth beside the hole, palms flat, fingers spread. A gesture I've seen her make before. Gratitude, I think, or recognition. An acknowledgement that the earth held this for us and gave it when we asked. We work through the afternoon. The whole yields steadily, not generously, not in excess, but enough. Cup after cup, filtered and poured, the goatskin bag growing heavier against my side. By the time the sun begins its descent toward the western edge of the world, the bag is full. Tight, heavy with the weight of survival. I seal it carefully. Every knot matters, every fold of leather. A leak now would be worse than not finding water at all. The cruelty of having and losing. Soraya is already thinking ahead. She's gathered the filtered silt, that paste of minerals and clay that the cloth caught, and she's spreading it on a flat stone to dry. Later she'll use it. For something. Medicine, maybe. A poultice for the cracks in our hands, or mixed with ash for cleaning. She wastes nothing. The water gives us water, and the waste gives us something else, and Soraya sees both gifts where I would see only one. We sit by the hole as the light changes. The water has settled into a small, still pool at the bottom. Clear now, reflecting the sky. I can count 3 stars already, even though the sun hasn't fully gone. Early stars, desert stars, the ones that arrive before they're invited. I build the fire nearby, close enough to warm us, far enough that no ash drifts into the water. The wood I gathered this morning, dry brush, brittle branches, the skeleton of a dead bush, catches quickly. The flames are small but committed. They lean toward the east, pushed by the evening wind that comes down from the hills like a slow exhalation. Soraya prepares bread. Flat, simple, the way she always makes it. Flour and water. Our water now from our hole, cold and mineral sweet. Mixed on a flat stone and cooked on another stone heated in the coals. The smell reaches me before the bread is ready, and my stomach responds with a sound that's closer to language than digestion. We eat in the last light. The bread is dense and warm, and I tear it with hands that are still stained dark with earth. Every bite tastes different than yesterday's bread. Better. Not because the recipe changed, but because the water changed. Because this water carries the memory of deep earth, of years of patience, of rain that fell when we weren't watching. My grandfather ate bread like this, made with found water, made with the earth's gift. He probably sat like this too, cross-legged by a small fire, watching the desert turn from gold to purple to black, and felt this same quiet fullness. Not satisfaction exactly. Something deeper. The knowledge that you asked the right question of the right ground, and the earth answered. The fire settles into coals. The stars multiply. The waterhole reflects them. A small window into the sky, set into the ground like a mirror left for someone to find. I think about all the people who walked over this spot. Over the years, the decades, maybe centuries, walking on top of water and never knowing. Never stopping, never pressing their palms to the ground and counting to 30. The water was always here. Patient. Waiting. It didn't need us to exist, but we needed it. Soraya adds a branch to the fire. The coals flare and catch, sending orange light across her face. She's looking at the waterhole, and there's something in her expression I can't quite name. Not pride, not relief. Something quieter. The look of someone who understood what the earth was saying before anyone else did. Who felt the moisture in the soil with her fingertips, and trusted what her grandmother taught her and led us east when I would have gone south.
Yes.
She catches me watching her, holds my gaze for a moment. In the firelight, her eyes carry that depth, the kind that comes from years of reading the world through senses most people have forgotten they possess. She doesn't smile. She doesn't need to. The look says everything. We found it. We're here. The bag is full. Tomorrow we carry it forward. She reaches over and brushes a streak of dried clay from my forehead. Her touch is light, brief, warm from the fire. Then she turns back to the waterhole and watches the stars swim in it, and the desert is quiet, and we are not thirsty. And that is the whole world.